If you watched my last video upload on the Tacoma, you'll know that I found myself in a little bit of predicament with the new wheel and tire package that I just ordered for the truck. I got a set of 17-inch wheels and a set of 285/70 R17 tires to go with it. Now, the general rule with a third-gen Tacoma is that if you've got a 3-inch lift kit, you can fit a set of 285s with some mild trimming. Now, I thought with a 2-inch lift on my truck, maybe I'd have just enough room where it would work. Figured I'd get the wheels and tires installed, and then if I had a problem, lift the truck further or make some of those necessary trimmings. Now, we got the wheels and tires, well, the first wheel and tire installed, and it was not even close. We had a huge amount of rubbing with just barely turning the steering wheel, so it was very clear that it was not going to work. Wasn't even able to get the wheels and tires installed at the shop until I lift the truck a little further. So that's where we're at now. Time to lift the truck in order to get that additional clearance for those new wheels and tires. Now, as long as I'm upgrading the suspension on the truck, I figured it'd be a good time to improve the overall setup that I've got. Currently, I'm running the stock suspension on the truck with a 2-inch spacer in the front and a 1-inch block in the rear. Now, since I'm upgrading, what I'm thinking is I'll try to increase travel, get something that's going to have a little bit better handling both on-road as well as off-road, and then also get a setup that can handle additional weight in the rear of the truck. I'm considering getting a bed rack and a rooftop tent down the road, and so it'd be really nice to have that additional capacity if I want to go that route later on. I would also like to get a setup that has some adjustability built in case I need additional lift. Really would like to keep the truck as low to the ground as possible while still fitting this new wheel tire setup. And so, you know, looking at that 3-inch lift, but then if I get the wheels and tires on and it's still not enough, it'd be nice to have some of that flexibility built in where I could lift the truck a little bit taller, and there are some kits that allow for that flexibility. I didn't really have a budget in mind for this project. I wasn't really planning on spending this money, but I did know it was a possibility. And the setups that I'm looking at are currently ranging between about $1,500 to the low $2,000 range. Now, there are 3 different kits that I'm considering currently, and I'd love to get your input on these 3 different kits. The first kit is from Toytec. It's the Toytec Boss Kit. Cheapest option that I'm considering. The price ranges from about $1,300 to $1,500. It's a complete setup, so front coilovers that adjust between 2 to 3 inches of lift, and then it comes with a set of rear shocks that allow up to additional 2 inches of lift in the rear, although you've got to pair that with either a rear block or add a leaf. Now, I've currently got the 1-inch Toytec block on my truck already. They also offer a 1.5-inch block, and I think you can actually go taller, although I wouldn't with the 2 to 3 inch lift in the front. And then they've also got the add a leaf, which gives you about 1.5 inches of lift. So that's a really great setup. Pretty simple overall. It is internal reservoirs for both the front and rear shock, although they do have an option where you can add external reservoirs in the rear for about $220 additional. So that's the first option I'm considering. Second option is the Icon Stage 2 lift. Now, this lift is a little bit more pricey, just over $2,000 at about $2,050. But with that, you are getting a slightly better and more complete setup. On the front of the truck, it's adjustable from 0 to 2.75 inches of lift, and then it's also got some additional functionality built in where there is a combination of a spacer and the ability to preload to get up to 3.5 inches. So that kit's appealing because it gives me that flexibility if I need to raise the truck a little bit taller. Most likely I'd set it at that 2.75 and see if it worked, and if it didn't, raise it taller as needed. And then on the rear, it includes a set of shocks that give you up to 2 inches of additional lift back there, and then it's combined with an add a leaf, giving you that 1.5 inch lift. So that's a pretty great setup. On the front shock, it is internal reservoir. Rear shock, it's going to be an external reservoir. So that's kind of the middle of the road option. And then the top of the line package that I'm looking at is the Fox 2.5 shock. Nicest setup of the 3. Although it's also the most expensive and it's not a complete system. So with this setup, you're getting between 0 to 3 inches of lift in the front, and then at the rear of the vehicle, you can get up to 2 to 3 inches of lift, although it doesn't include the components that you need to actually lift the truck. So you're getting the shocks, which have additional travel. You've still got to combine it with either a block or an add a leaf to get that additional height in the rear. So that's going to be an added cost. The setup already costs about $2,200 to begin with, so more money on top of that's definitely pushing it to the higher end of my budget. Now, it is the nicest setup. Both the front and rear shocks have external reservoirs, and it's a great looking setup. A lot of really nice components to it. The other disadvantage of this setup though is that it also requires an upper control arm replacement. Now the other two setups do recommend replacing the upper control arm. The reason that you replace upper control arm is that it helps with wheel articulation, and it also helps to get the proper caster when aligning the vehicle. So it would be ideal to replace it, although they're very expensive. You're looking at another $600 to $700 minimum to replace that upper control arm. So at this point, I'm leaning toward not doing that, at least at the beginning, and then it's something that I could add later on. But with the Fox 2.5 setup, I'd have to do it now. So it drives that price up even further, getting pretty close to that $3,000 range. So the first two setups are definitely the most likely possibility, although I'm still throwing around the idea of the Fox 2.5s. I'd love to get your feedback on these setups. If you've had experience with any of them, if you've heard anything on them, good or bad, love to get your feedback. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on my progress with the lift kit. I'll definitely include an installation video, and then once we get it on, we'll get those wheels and tires installed, so you'll want to stay posted for that. If you have any other comments or questions, leave them in the section below. For more videos of the 3rd gen Tacoma, be sure to subscribe. In the meantime, thanks for watching.